All right, strap yourselves in, everyone, because we're diving deep today. We're taking a look at open educational resources, OERs, that amazing world of free educational materials. But we're not just talking about any OERs today. We're honing in on a group in Singapore that's doing some truly groundbreaking work, especially in physics, and our source, their website. Think of it like a treasure-filled cave packed with links to all sorts of educational goodies.
It's their approach that really stands out. I mean,
Yeah.
they've created this entire website as a central hub for all these resources. And the real game changer here, their use of easy JavaScript simulations, EJS for short.
Ooh, EJS. Okay, I'm already hooked. Simulations are definitely gaining traction in education, but what makes EJS stand out from the crowd?
Well, think of it this way. EJS brings together the simplicity of JavaScript with the power to create these interactive simulations, ones that can truly help students wrap their heads around complex topics. Like imagine trying to teach someone about gravity. It's one thing to talk about it or show diagrams, but with EJS, you can create a simulation where they can actually manipulate objects and see firsthand how gravity influences their movement.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually getting your hands dirty in the kitchen.
Precisely. And here's the beauty of it. EJS is open source, meaning educators from all corners of the globe can access it, tweak it, share those simulations. And this organization in Singapore, they've really embraced that. They've built up this impressive library of simulations covering a huge range of physics topics. They even branch out into other subjects like chemistry and math.
I'm looking at their website right now, and the sheer variety of simulations is incredible. There's one that caught my eye. Unlocking chemistry with EJS. Dive into the interactive world, molecular and symbolic representation, electrolysis simulation. Phew, what a mouthful. But seriously, what kind of learning experience can we expect from a simulation like that?
Well, this particular simulation really showcases the power of EJS in bringing those abstract concepts to life. You see, electrolysis, it's basically using electricity to drive a chemical reaction,
Yep.
and it can be tough to picture. But in this simulation, students actually get to see what's happening at a molecular level. They can play around with variables, things like voltage or electrode type, and then boom, they see how those tweaks impact the reaction. It takes something that could feel very theoretical and turns it into something tangible, something they can interact with.
It's like having a virtual lab right there at your fingertips. And speaking of virtual labs, there's another one that jumps out. The Transpiration Virtual Lab for dynamic environments for room, light, windy, and humid. I remember learning about transpiration in school, but it was a lot of memorizing definitions and processes. How does the simulation breathe life into that learning?
Oh, this one is all about hands-on experimentation. Forget just reading about how different environmental factors affect transpiration. Students can design and run their own virtual experiments. They can adjust the light, the wind speed, even the humidity. And then they observe how those changes influence the rate of water loss from plants. They collect data, analyze it, draw conclusions, just like in a real lab setting.
Wow, that takes hands-on learning to a whole new level, and probably a lot less messy than a real biology lab, right? But I also noticed they don't shy away from making things fun. They have simulations that are more game-like King Triton Computer Player 1 versus Human Player 2's some number card game.
That's right. And it's a perfect example of how they're weaving in gamification to make learning more engaging. This particular simulation helps students develop strategic thinking skills and math skills, but in a fun way. By turning learning into a game, they're tapping into that natural human desire to play, to compete. And that can lead to greater engagement, deeper understanding.
It makes you wonder if maybe we'd have a whole generation of budding physicists if we'd had access to these kinds of simulations when we were in school, right? But it's more than just about making learning fun, isn't it? These simulations offer a level of interactivity that you just can't replicate with traditional teaching methods.
Absolutely. And that interactivity is crucial for real comprehension. It empowers students to tinker with variables, see those cause and effect relationships unfold, experiment with different scenarios. It's a far cry from passively reading a textbook or listening to a lecture.
I'm really curious about what the students themselves think of these resources. The website mentions student interviews. Have you had a chance to look through those?
I have, and they're incredibly insightful. You can truly see the impact these simulations have had on their learning journey. Many students talk about how the simulations help them visualize concepts that were previously hard to grasp. They feel more confident in their understanding, and they're even more motivated to explore further.
That's fantastic to hear. It seems like these simulations are not only boosting their comprehension of the material, but also nurturing a genuine love for learning.
And that's what's so remarkable about this organization's work. They're not just creating educational resources, they're creating a learning environment that's engaging, accessible, and truly empowering.
It's a real testament to the potential of open educational resources, especially when combined with cutting-edge technologies like EJS. But while these simulations offer a ton of benefits, I'm curious, are there any potential downsides? Could they end up replacing real-world experimentation?
That's a valid point. While simulations can be a fantastic tool for learning, they shouldn't be seen as a replacement for hands-on experiences in the real world. It's all about finding that balance. Simulations are great for introducing concepts, for allowing safe and cost-effective experimentation. They can even prepare students for real-world lab work. But there's something about the tangible, sometimes unpredictable nature of real-world experiments that offers invaluable lessons. You can't fully replicate that in a virtual environment.
That makes sense. It's about using these tools strategically, enhancing learning, not replacing the irreplaceable. But as these technologies continue to evolve, is there a risk of creating a digital divide, where only students with access to the latest tech can benefit from these resources?
That's an absolutely crucial question, and one that we need to address head-on. Technology has the power to level the playing field, but it can also widen existing inequalities if we're not careful. This organization is very aware of this and has gone to great lengths to ensure that their simulations are accessible on a variety of devices, even those with limited processing power.
That's reassuring to hear. It sounds like they're truly dedicated to making these resources available to as many students as possible.
They are, and they're part of a much broader movement pushing for greater accessibility and equity in education. It's about ensuring that all students, regardless of their background or where they come from, have the chance to benefit from these advancements in educational technology.
It's truly inspiring to see how this organization is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with OERs and educational technology. I can't help but think about all the students who are benefiting from their work. What are some of the broader implications of this approach to education? Do you see it as a potential model for other organizations and institutions?
Absolutely. This organization's success with EJS demonstrates the immense power of open-source resources and collaborative development. It proves that we don't need to rely on expensive proprietary software to create engaging and effective learning experiences. By sharing their work openly and encouraging others to adapt and build upon it, they're fostering a community of educators, all united in this common goal of making quality education accessible to everyone.
It's like a collective effort to democratize knowledge, to empower learners all around the globe. It's exciting to imagine the ripple effects this could have on a global scale. But we've been focusing a lot on physics and STEM subjects. Do you think this approach could be applied to other areas of learning, like the humanities or the arts?
There's definitely potential there. Interactive simulations can be used to bring history to life, explore different cultures, even experiment with artistic techniques. The key is to approach it creatively, to figure out how to leverage these tools to enhance the learning experience and engage students in fresh, meaningful ways.
It makes you wonder how our own learning journeys might have been different if we'd had access to these kinds of resources. What subject would you have loved to explore further through interactive simulations?
For me, it would have to be astronomy. I've always been captivated by the vastness of space, and I can only imagine how much more I could have learned if I had the opportunity to explore the solar system, manipulate celestial objects, witness astronomical phenomena through these interactive simulations.
That's a fantastic choice. I think I would have leaned towards something more hands-on, like architecture or engineering. Imagine being able to design and build virtual structures, test their stability, see how different design choices affect the overall functionality. It would have been an amazing way to learn about these fields in a practical, engaging way.
Absolutely. And that highlights another major advantage of simulations. They provide a safe space for students to make mistakes and learn from them. There's no risk of real-world consequences, which allows them to experiment and explore freely without the fear of failure.
It's like a playground for the mind. This deep dive has been truly eye-opening. We've explored the innovative work of this organization in Singapore, delved into the world of EJS, and considered the broader implications for education. What a journey.
It has been fascinating. And I believe the key takeaway here is that we're witnessing a paradigm shift in education. Technology is empowering us to create more engaging, more accessible, more personalized learning experiences for students everywhere.
A huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. I always learn so much from our deep dives together. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic, and I'm already eager to see what the future holds for open educational resources and interactive learning.
It's been a pleasure diving in with you. And to our listener, we leave you with this. What subject would you have loved to explore further through interactive simulations? What possibilities are you excited to see unfold in the future of education? Keep those questions in mind as you continue your own learning journey. Until next time.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if we'd had these tools back in the day? But it's not just about making learning fun, is it? There's something deeper going on here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That interactivity is key. It's about understanding, not just memorizing. It gives students the power to actually experiment, to see those cause and effect relationships play out in real time. You can't get that from a textbook.
You know what I'm curious about? What the students themselves think about these resources. The website mentions student interviews. Have you had a chance to dive into those?
I have, and let me tell you, they're fascinating. You can really see how these simulations have transformed their learning experience. So many of them talk about how the simulations help them finally visualize those concepts that they struggled with before. They feel more confident, more motivated to keep learning. It's amazing to see that kind of impact.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Not just understanding the material, but actually falling in love with learning along the way.
Exactly. And that's what makes this organization's work so inspiring. They're not just throwing resources out there. They're building an entire learning environment, one that's engaging, accessible, and empowering.
It really speaks to the power of OERs, especially when you combine them with innovative technologies like EJS. But I have to ask, with all these benefits, are there any potential downsides? Could simulations become a crutch, replacing real-world experimentation altogether?
That's a great question. While simulations are a phenomenal learning tool, they shouldn't replace hands-on learning entirely. It's about striking a balance. Think of simulations as a stepping stone. They introduce concepts, allow for safe experimentation, and prepare students for the real deal. But nothing beats the real world, that tangible, unpredictable nature of it. You just can't fully replicate that in a virtual space.
Right. It's about using the right tool for the right job. Simulations can enhance learning, but they shouldn't replace the irreplaceable. But as technology keeps advancing, I can't help but wonder, are we running the risk of creating a digital divide, where only students with access to the latest and greatest tech can reap the benefits?
Oh, that's a critical point, and it's one we need to be very mindful of. Technology has the potential to bridge gaps, but it can also exacerbate existing inequalities if we're not careful. Now, this organization is acutely aware of that. They've actually gone to great lengths to make sure their simulations are accessible on a range of devices, even those with limited processing power.
That's good to hear. It sounds like they're truly committed to reaching as many students as possible.
They are, and they're part of a much larger movement that's fighting for greater accessibility and equity in education. It's about ensuring that all students, no matter their background or location, have the opportunity to benefit from these incredible advancements in educational technology.
It's incredibly inspiring to see an organization like this pushing the envelope,
Yeah.
innovating with OERs and educational technology. It's all for the students,
Mhm.
ultimately. What do you see as the wider implications of this approach? Do you think it could serve as a model for other organizations and institutions?
Absolutely. I mean, their success with EJS just goes to show you the power of open source resources and collaboration. We don't need expensive proprietary software to create amazing, effective learning experiences. By freely sharing their work and encouraging others to build on it, they're fostering a true community of educators, all working towards the same goal: accessible, quality education for everyone.
It's almost like a collective effort to democratize knowledge, to empower learners across the globe. Pretty powerful stuff. And it makes you think about the ripple effects, right? The potential global impact. But we've spent a lot of time talking about physics and STEM subjects. Could this approach extend to other areas, like the humanities or the arts?
I definitely see potential there. Imagine interactive simulations that bring history to life, or allow you to explore different cultures, or even let you experiment with artistic techniques. It's all about thinking outside the box. How can we use these tools to create new, engaging ways to learn?
It really makes you wonder what could have been, doesn't it? If we had access to these kinds of resources, how might our own educational journeys have been different? What subject, if you could go back, would you have loved to explore more deeply through interactive simulations?
Ooh, tough question. But for me, it would have to be astronomy. I've always been fascinated by space. And I can just imagine how much more I could have learned if I'd had the chance to explore the solar system, play around with celestial objects, see those astronomical phenomena unfold right before my eyes.
That's a great one. I think I would have gravitated towards something more hands-on, maybe architecture or engineering. Imagine designing and building structures virtually, testing their stability, seeing how different design choices impact the whole thing. It would have been an incredible way to really learn those fields in a practical, engaging way.
Absolutely. And it highlights another huge benefit of simulations. They give students that safe space to make mistakes, to learn and adapt without real-world consequences. It frees them up to really experiment and explore without that fear of failure holding them back.
It's like a playground for the mind, isn't it? This deep dive has been so enlightening. We've explored the work of this incredible organization in Singapore, gotten a glimpse into the world of EJS, and even pondered the bigger implications for education as a whole.
It's been a fascinating journey for sure, and I think the key takeaway for me is that we're in the midst of a true revolution in education. Technology is giving us the power to create learning experiences that are more engaging, more accessible, and more personalized than ever before. It's an exciting time.
It really is. And a huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise and insights. These deep dives are always so enriching, and I always walk away having learned so much. I feel like we've just scratched the surface today, but it's definitely whetted my appetite to see what the future holds for open educational resources and this whole world of interactive learning.
The pleasure's all mine. And to our listeners out there, we leave you with this. What subject would you have loved to explore further through these interactive simulations? What possibilities in the future of education are you most excited about? Hold on to those questions as you continue on your own learning journeys. And until next time, keep exploring. It really does make you wonder, doesn't it? What if we had these tools back in our school days?
Right. It could have been a game changer. But, it's not just about the wow factor of technology. It's about something much deeper. It's about transforming how we learn, making it more engaging, more effective.
Oh, absolutely. It's about moving beyond rote memorization and into real, deep understanding, giving students the tools to explore and experiment, to connect with the material in a way that sticks.
I'm really curious to hear what the students themselves have to say about these resources. The website mentions they have student interviews. Have you had a chance to check those out?
Oh, I have. And they're fascinating. You can really see the light bulbs going off.
Yeah.
Students talking about how these simulations help them grasp those tricky concepts that they just couldn't wrap their heads around before.
That's what it's all about, right? Not just understanding the material, but genuinely connecting with it, getting excited about learning.
Exactly. And that's what makes this organization's work so remarkable. They're not just providing information, they're creating an entire learning ecosystem, one that's engaging, accessible, and empowering. It's about fostering a love of learning, a thirst for knowledge.
It's a testament to the power of open educational resources, especially when paired with innovative technologies like EJS. But with all the good, I can't help but wonder if there are any potential downsides. Could simulations, become a crutch, replacing real-world experimentation altogether?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that while simulations are incredibly valuable tools, they shouldn't replace hands-on learning entirely. It's about striking a balance. Think of simulations as a bridge, a way to introduce concepts, allow for safe and controlled experimentation, and prepare students for real-world applications.
Right. It's about using the right tool for the job. Simulations enhance learning, but they shouldn't replace those irreplaceable real-world experiences. Speaking of access, I can't help but think about the potential for a digital divide. As technology keeps advancing, are we at risk of leaving behind students who don't have access to the latest and greatest gadgets?
That's a critical point,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something we need to be very mindful of as we embrace these new technologies. Technology has the power to level the playing field, but it can also widen existing inequalities if we're not careful. This organization, to their credit, seems very aware of this. They've made a concerted effort to ensure their simulations run on a wide range of devices, even those with limited processing power. It's about reaching as many learners as possible.
That's encouraging to hear. It sounds like they're truly committed to making these resources accessible to everyone, regardless of their tech setup.
Absolutely. And they're part of a larger movement that's pushing for greater accessibility and equity in education. It's about ensuring that all students, regardless of their background or location, have the opportunity to benefit from these incredible advancements in educational technology. It's about creating a more inclusive and equitable learning landscape for everyone.
It's inspiring to see organizations like this leading the charge, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with open educational resources and educational technology. They're not just creating resources, they're shaping the future of learning. What are your thoughts on the broader implications of this approach to education? Do you see it as a potential model for other organizations and institutions?
Without a doubt, their success with EJS demonstrates the power of open-source resources and collaborative development. It shows that we don't need to rely on expensive proprietary software to create engaging and effective learning experiences. By sharing their work freely and encouraging others to adapt and build upon it, they're fostering a true community of educators, all working towards a shared goal, making quality education accessible to all. They're leading by example, proving that it's possible to create high-quality, engaging learning experiences without breaking the bank. It's a model that could have a profound impact on education as a whole.
It's like a collective effort to democratize knowledge, to empower learners around the globe. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a reminder that education is not a zero-sum game. We can all benefit from a world where knowledge is freely shared and accessible to everyone. But we've been focusing a lot on physics and STEM subjects. Do you think this approach, this use of interactive simulations and open educational resources, could be applied to other areas of learning as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's immense potential for this approach across all disciplines. Imagine interactive simulations that bring history to life, allowing students to step back in time and experience historical events firsthand, or simulations that transport them to different cultures, immersing them in new languages and customs, or even simulations that let them experiment with artistic techniques, exploring different mediums and styles without the fear of making a mistake. The key is to approach it creatively, to think outside the box and find ways to leverage these tools to enhance the learning experience and engage students in new and meaningful ways.
It's about fostering curiosity, sparking a love of learning that extends beyond the confines of the classroom, which makes me wonder, if we could turn back the clock, what subject would you have loved to explore more deeply through interactive simulations? If you could go back to your school days, armed with these amazing tools, what would you dive into?
That's a tough one. There are so many possibilities, but for me, I think it would have to be astronomy. I've always been fascinated by the vastness of space, the mysteries of the universe, and I can only imagine how much more I could have learned, how much more deeply I could have connected with that subject if I had the opportunity to explore the solar system, manipulate celestial objects, and witness astronomical phenomena unfold right before my eyes, all through the power of interactive simulations. It would have been a dream come true.
That's a fantastic choice. For me, I think I would have leaned towards something a bit more hands-on, maybe architecture or engineering. Imagine being able to design and build virtual structures, test their stability, and see how different design choices impacted the overall functionality. It would have been an incredible way to learn about those fields in a practical and engaging way, to really see the connection between theory and practice.
Absolutely. And that brings up another key benefit of simulations. They provide a safe space for students to make mistakes and learn from them. In the real world, mistakes can have consequences, sometimes significant ones. But in a simulation, students can experiment freely, try different approaches, and learn from their failures without any real-world repercussions. It's a powerful way to encourage creativity, innovation, and a growth mindset.
It's like a playground for the mind, a space where curiosity and exploration are not just encouraged, but celebrated. This deep dive has been absolutely fascinating. We've explored the incredible work of this organization in Singapore, delved into the world of EJS and interactive simulations, and even pondered the broader implications for the future of education. It's been a journey of discovery, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
It's been a pleasure diving in with you. And to our listeners out there, we leave you with this. What subject would you have loved to explore further through these incredible interactive simulations? What possibilities in the future of education are you most excited about? Hold on to those questions, keep exploring, and keep that spark of curiosity alive. Until next time.